Ben, congratulations on your film. Who are you people?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So it's quite a drama that you created here. So we have to ask that obligatory question. Where did the original idea came from for Who Are You People?
It's a great question, even if it is obligatory. And the answer is that it kind of started for me probably a long time ago, like decades ago, like when I was a teenager and started to realize this moment that my parents weren't these omniscient, all knowing beings who just sort of existed to parent me, but they were complex people with their own stuff and their own histories. And I think that moment really lodged in my brain when I was about 16, which is maybe not coincidentally the age that Alex, the protagonist of the story, is. Um, and then, but of course, when I got older, I had the idea for a story that was kind of just about what would happen in this situation. But the emotional genesis really goes back to that feeling when I was a kid and trying to create some sort of real life mystery that went with the emotional mystery of who are my who am I and who are they and how do we all exist in the world? And I should also say that my own biography is nothing like Alex's. This is not a story about my life at all, but the emotional reality of who are you people kind of is something that I had when I was that age and kind of was pulling when I wrote the script.
So when you wrote the script, was it the intention to create sort of a drama, or was it like unintentionally that you created a sort of like a mystery, a fact-finding mission for the protagonist?
Well, I would say that it's a drama, but I do think that there is an element of mystery that informs that drama. I know that's kind of a non-answer answer, but yes, to me this is very much in the mode of those kind of small character-driven dramas that I've loved over the years. Ordinary People, or You Can Count on Me, or to a more recent thing like a Ladybird, things like that. So, but I do think that there's a sort of emotional mystery at the center of it that actually is a practical mystery as well. But having written, mysteries and thrillers, I would say that maybe I drew on some of those tools, but this is pretty much playing in the coming of age drama box.
So how did you want to approach a story? Because we've seen stories before, like sons or daughters seeking out
Relative.
a relative or missing parent, but you crafted this in a much more different way because of all the secrets kept by everyone. Hence, who are you people?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that I was aware that there's a sort of trope of a person shows up on a doorstep and says, "I'm your kid," and then we follow it. For me, I think I started this story with the twist, which I won't reveal here for the spoiler reverse, and worked backwards from that. And so even though it is about, even though there are stories about people showing up on doorsteps, I really wanted to ground this movie as much as I could in Alex's subjective experience and the feeling of not knowing the world around you quite so much and having a literal mystery inform your emotional one. So I don't know if I've seen it quite like that before. So even though I knew I was maybe walking in some familiar footsteps, I was trying to say, okay, I know that I have a sort of centerpiece that happens about two-thirds of the way into the movie that really will change what the story is for people and kind of cast it in a new light. So in knowing that, I think I felt confident to say, like, I think that this movie deserves to exist.
I know. I do have to admit the character Alex that you actually created, she is, I want to say, persistence, because her persistence really get under the skin of everybody else, which it
Yes.
seems.
Well, it's funny. Emma Horvath, who is like an incredible, I think, revelatory actress. What we were doing a scene, and there's not a take of her in the dailies that isn't usable. So we were doing a scene in the garage where she's asking Carl questions about his life, and it's at the point where they've started to warm up to each other a little bit. And she's like, well, what about this? What about that? And then Emma was like, the thing is, I would never, if someone didn't want to talk to me, I would just quiet down in between takes. And I was like, well, yeah, but you're a little bit more reasonable. And she's like, oh, yeah, got it. And then she just kept doing it because she's like, yeah, Alex is 16. She's not fully formed yet. And she's very smart intellectually, but emotionally, I think she has some growing up to do.
So why was Emma perfect to play this role? Was she 16 when she took this role?
I would not say that Emma was traditionally 16 in linear years, but I think that Emma's an adult woman, but she is so good and transformative that there was one time when I saw her outside of shooting. I think like the cast and crew were going for a dinner, and she was sort of dressed in more regular clothes, and even her walk was different. And I was like, "Oh, you really look different." She's like, "Oh, I'm not actually this character person." So, the reason she is perfect to play the role, honestly, is just that she's a phenomenal actress, and that she brings a level of being in the moment and understanding to every single moment she's in. And she's technically superb, but she's also just really, really electrifying to watch as well. So I knew that the movie kind of rested on her shoulders. Alex is in almost every scene. So we really needed an actress who the audience is going to sympathize with, even when they're being kind of an asshole, which Alex sometimes is kind of an asshole, and she has a lot of growing up to do.
Well, I have to hand it to you. She is an up and coming actress, so it is a great decision. But you also anchored it with more established actors like Alyssa and Devon
Sure.
in this film too. So could you talk about them?
Yeah, of course. Well, we are so lucky to have both of those actors in this movie. For one, I think that both of those roles require a real vulnerability and a real courage to pull off. To talk about Devon, who was one of the first actors to come on once we actually, had the money and we're like, we're making the movie. Devon was one of the first pieces of talent who came on board, and Alyssa was the last, and Devon was the first. And Devon brought, I think, a real courage to it, because he said, going in, look, I don't normally play roles like this, and I really want to get into this guy's skin. And I think that what Devon did was make Carl feel fully fleshed out, fully three-dimensional, completely real. And that means when you find out all of what Carl has done, you're going to feel, the audience hopefully will feel like what Alex does, which is a sense of immense confusion, because you like this person, but it's hard to reconcile that with what Carl has done. And I think that it takes a lot of bravery to play a role with that much nuance and depth and understanding as Devon did. Alyssa, I'm still amazed that Alyssa is in this movie, and she really, really cut to the chase of who this character was. She found new ways to kind of frame her. When she came on, I remember we were already. I was like on a couple days after she came on. I had a weekend before, like in between days of shooting, and Alyssa and I went through some of the script, and she's like, this line is bugging me, and she was completely right. I can't remember, it was a line about just describing Judith in a certain way, and she's so smart, and she's been at this for such a long time that her instincts are really, really honed. And then she said, okay, well, I trust you, and let's do it. And then she was also, Alyssa's an executive producer on the movie as well, and her comments and posts were also extremely helpful. She just knows, when you've done this as much as she has, because she was really a kid when she started, her instincts are just so sharp. I was lucky to have her as part of this creative team.
So as a director, how
Mhm.
is there a big difference between like directing like a young person like Emma and more veteran actors like Alyssa and Devon?
I would say that I have worked with, as a director, I've worked with young actors in the past. Emma was pretty similar to working with more established folks, because she comes from a hard theater background. She's not somebody who dabbles in acting. She's truly an actress. And so I think that she matched up well with our sort of veteran ensemble of actors, because and Reid as well. Reid and Kaya, who are the other like younger actors, also are very experienced and have been doing this a long time. Even the girls who played her sisters, Dylan and Kazia, they were younger, but they also like knew how to hit their marks. They knew how to stay in the moment, so I found that as a director, working with younger actors and working with older actors in this case wasn't all that different.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been in other projects where it has been.
Yeah. Now, with a film like this, as a viewer, as an audience member, so many conversations could actually come out of this. Was that your intention, and what conversations that you hope that people should focus on?
Okay, I love that question because it's absolutely my intention. I think that I love movies that ask questions and don't give answers. I think that some of those movies that leave you debating and thinking and trying to reconcile how you feel about the characters, what you want for the characters, whether you think a character should forgive another character. Those are the movies that got me excited about filmmaking when I was like a kid, when I was Alex's age. I think that that life doesn't always give you easy answers, and most people in the world fall into some sort of gray. There are movies there are stories with clear heroes and villains, and I love those stories too. But in a smaller, character driven kind of intimate drama, which is what I would consider this to be, there are characters who live in the ambiguities, even characters who are painted with a fairly broad brush, like Carl's father, Bo, is still a character who I think has his own story and his own reason for being the way he is, and his own fears and vulnerabilities and sadnesses that inform him. So I like stories like that. So I did intend for this movie to be one of those stories.
Hence, circling around, this all explains to the open ending, the ending of your film. You wanted us to think of our own ending.
Well, yes. So here's what I think. It's a bit of a cop out to just be like, well, what do you think? But I will say this. I think we both end the story fairly definitively and leave open the door for some interpretation, because by the end of the story, Alex and her family, or her Portland family, are unquestionably in a better place. And I think that their lines of communication are much more open. It's calmer. It's more loving. I think Carl's obviously in a better place. I think there's been some degree of him acknowledging his right to exist in the world, or thinking whether or not he has it. And I'm not actually saying that he should, but I think the character has come to a sense of understanding with himself. Between the two of them, I don't know. I don't know what will happen. That is deliberately ambiguous, because there's also a contradiction in it. He says, I'll let you go, and she doesn't get off the phone right away. Now, she might hang up 1 second after the film ends, or she might stay on and they might talk for another hour. I don't really know, but I kind of like the idea that what happens between the two of them is more about what the viewer is bringing to the table. And I've seen that in movies before, that kind of like, well, what do you think? And I think it can be very effective. The before movies that Richard Linklater did, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, they do that, and I think very effectively.
You guys must have quite a production debate on that ending.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because on the crew, people were really divided about whether or not they wanted Alex and Carl to have a relationship. Some people really did, and some people really didn't. And I completely understood both of them. And I'm kind of agnostic about it, because I didn't really think that was my job as the filmmaker. I don't always think. I think when the filmmaker tips their hand, it becomes a morality play. And I was fairly adamant that this shouldn't be that.
Most excellent. Well, it does create plenty of conversations, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yes, I did want this to be a conversation piece, and I think that the film might get under people's skin in a way, and I understand that too. I'm not looking to be deliberately provocative. I don't think that's my personality or the kind of story I'm trying to tell. But I think that life sometimes gives you questions that are not easily answered, and I think that some movies should exist to give easy answers, and some like this shouldn't.
Most excellent. So what's up next for you, Ben?
Well, I just finished working on a Netflix series that I'm not allowed to talk about because it's very different than this. And I I have a couple of screenplays one that I have done that a producer and I are going to start talking about when he finishes his. He's on set right now, a sort of a producer in a different league than me, which is exciting. And I have a pilot that we're going out with, and I also just had a baby, so a lot of my immediate future is changing diapers. But pretty soon, I'm hoping to get my next feature up and running.
I feel like that is also an open ending for our conversation. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, Ben, thank you for this conversation
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
on Who Are You People, and everyone should check it out. So this way, they could join in that conversation and think about the film.
Yes, please. I'd love it. And thank you so much, Gig. This was really great talking to you.
Hey, it's a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we'll get to do this again on your future projects.
I hope so too. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.